Welcome back, everybody, to the Virtuals Movers Conference. We are now excited because we get everybody back and we get to be on this panel. But first, can we get some ones? Can we get some hand raises? Like, has everybody been like just having the best day ever? I mean, it's just been unbelievable. In between all of these speakers, I've been trying to take notes as well, just like everybody else, and I'm having one of the best days. This has been fantastic, and I'm excited to hear from Taylor from Move for Hunger because you have some exciting news. I mean, I think we killed it today.
Oh, we sure did, Mark. We sure did. But before we get into that, if I've got a couple seconds, I'm
Oh
going to
yeah,
dive
go
into
ahead,
some Move for Hunger updates. And then I've got the
please.
big announcement, the announcement of our impact from just today's conference, and of course, the winner from the Yeti Cooler raffle. So let's get
Oh
into it.
yes, I love it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, for those of you that do not know, my name is Taylor Heidemann, and I am with Move for Hunger. We are a national nonprofit that serves all 50 states as well as Canada, and we are moving food into communities that need it most. We started with just one moving company here in New Jersey, and we started with the idea of having customers donate their food when they move. Since then, we've expanded to over 1,300 moving companies, again, across all 50 states and Canada, delivering that same exact service to every single one of their customers, having that chance to donate your food when you move, and of course, making sure that it goes to someone in need, right? So last year was Move for Hunger's 15-year anniversary. It was also one of our most impactful years yet. Together with our network, we were able to move over 15 million pounds of food donations
Wow.
into communities that need it. And that was just in 1 year alone, Mark. So that's enough food to provide over 12 million meals to communities that need it most. But unfortunately, at the same time, it was also an astonishing year for hunger. Right now, across North America, 1 in 5 kids are struggling with where their next meal is coming from. 1 in 5. And so I got to pause here. As a parent, I think about the last classroom that I stepped foot in, and I want to encourage each and every one of you to think about it. Perhaps it was your own children, your nieces, nephews, grandchildren. On average, again, here in the States, the average classroom is about 20 to 25 students. And I will remind you again, 1 in 5 are going to go to bed hungry tonight. And so that's really where we as an industry have a chance to make a difference. And that's where we have already. So when I talk about those 1,300 moving companies, to date, they've moved over 53 million pounds of food just in those 15 years. So you have a chance to join Move for Hunger if you're a part of the audience and maybe you aren't involved in the mission yet. Whether you be a moving company, a supplier, any company, we are working with all sorts of folks to get them involved in the mission. From your leading RMCs to consumer packaged good companies, freight companies, I mean, you name it, we've got them involved through a variety of ways. And so I do want to encourage each and every one of you that maybe is tuning in today that wants to learn a little bit more, reach on out. Mark, I'm putting you on the spot. I know they can reach out to you and you're
Yep.
happy to answer some info about Move for Hunger. I'm happy to answer some info. And I know our partners at Smart Moving as well would be happy to answer. So, thank you to everybody in the audience that have already participated because together we've already worked to change that narrative. Y'all had a chance to participate in our Yeti Cooler raffle. And I have the exciting pleasure of announcing that together we were able to raise enough money to provide 5,800 meals just
Wow.
today here alone. So round of applause for all
Good
of you
job,
here.
everybody. Congratulations. Make sure you give yourself a pat on the back. I mean, that's amazing, Taylor. And I just want to add in here for anybody that is attending the ATA, the American Moving and Storage Association, next week in Nashville. The Movified podcast, myself and Stephen Reed, we will be there on site. And all the shirts that we are trying to raise will be by donation and some pins for Movified. So if you're there, donate because all the proceeds will be going to Move for Hunger to help out. So
Incredible. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. I am super excited. I will be there as well. So please make sure to check out Mark's booth. Make sure to connect with Move for Hunger. And we'd love to get you involved and make a difference. And it's as easy as that, right? So a donation of $25 today got you a chance to enter into a Yeti cooler raffle, but it also helps us provide 100 meals for those that need it most. So for every dollar donated, we can help move 4 more meals into communities. So that's really it for me. Listen, let's get to the fun stuff. I'm excited to announce our 2025 Virtual Mover Conference Yeti winner
drum roll.
is Lucretia Wilforth with Affordable Mover of the Hill Country. So, Latricia, you can look out for an email from Move for Hunger. We will be reaching out to get you coordinated. And that's enough for me. Thank you all. Thank you, Mark, and have a great
Thank
panel.
you. Well, guys, this has been amazing. I'm so excited. We're going to get this panel started. We got everybody just popping in. This is great. Look at that. Boom. It's like we had a stage and everybody just magically appeared like it's a big magic act. This is great. Welcome, all you fancy experts.
Recording in progress.
Boom. We're good. Almost heard an echo. All right, cool. This is, yeah, I love it, Nate. This is like Hollywood Squares, but in the moving industry. So fantastic. For all those that are looking and checking out this screen, they go, where's Lewis? What happened? Well, we got Wade Sweikel here from the Moving Titan Retreats here, like just as good. I mean, I'm so excited to have Wade in here. Thank you so much, Wade, for joining this panel.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, boom. All right. Well, you know what? You obviously, because you've missed out on all the questions, we're just going to start right with you. So what you're like, awesome. Thank you so much.
Let's rock and roll.
For all of the moving companies that you've met, especially at all the events that you've been to and been involved with so many different masterminds and groups, what do you find is going to be that emerging trend in the industry that will have the biggest impact in the next 3 to 5 years?
AI, for sure. I mean, that's, there's so much stuff happening every single day with AI starting to get smarter and smarter. You've got Grok 3, ChatGPT, Google Gemini. They're really becoming search engines at the end of the day. But there's so much, I mean, there's just so many things you can do with them. I think that ultimately people are going to be calling into moving companies and they're going to be talking to an AI bot and they won't even know it's an AI bot. I think that with, it may not be quite ready for that. I know there's some services that are doing that now, but I strongly believe within the next year or two, it's going to replace most over the phone sales sooner than we think, definitely within in a few years, but I think sooner than that. I think it's going to save moving companies a ton of money in commissions and labor, and they'll be able to stick to scripts and handle rebuttals. There's already tools that you can use AI for to coach your sales teams to hit certain, metrics, to have scorecards and battle cards when people are, saying rebuttals that your live salespeople can do. I don't think it's going to replace the in-person experience, the face-to-face experience of going out to a home and having that one-on-one relationship, but I see there being a ton of potential with that. I think people are going to start using it more and more as search engines, and different AI platforms are going to be used for different types of searches. So there's going to be platforms that are really good at getting information. There's going to be others that are really good at geographical locations. I think Google's Gemini is going to lead the way in terms of that. I know AI is already being used to scrape reviews. If you guys have people leaving 5-star reviews on your page, make sure that they're putting where they're moving to and from. If they can take pictures that show moving related things like boxes, trucks, equipment, wrapped furniture, guys walking, the AI can pick up on that, and it knows that this is a moving company, and it's going to rank you higher when it can see that you're a real moving company and that you're in these local areas with people mentioning the locations that they're moving to and from, and the services and the names of the guys and pictures that indicate moving. Systems and processes. You can already upload. I think Steven has talked to me about uploading his entire SOPs into AI, and you can just easily ask it questions because it learns your entire company. You can even ask
your boss, right? You're putting in your boss. You're teaching it how to boss you around a little bit now in the stage.
Absolutely. People are using AI for therapy right now, which is something I know every moving company owner needs. If you're a narcissistic enough person to be in the moving industry in the first place, you can talk to AI with your problems, but it'll help you solve those problems too. I mean, there's just so many new applications coming out for AI, digital graphics, videos, voice search, organizing profiles. I mean, I think we're just touching the tip of the iceberg with the power. And I think the companies that learn it know how to prompt it, that know how to leverage it, know how to talk to it, to be able to show up when people are searching for your services, are going to be the ones with a huge competitive advantage in the long run. So I actually just enrolled in a University of South Florida AI course to try to learn as much as I can about how it works, how to prompt it, get the fundamentals. And I really am excited about learning more as it develops and using it to leverage my entire business. I'm trying to get my whole team to do that course with me. I think it's actually a free online course right now, so I can send the link to anybody who's interested in that. I already sent it to a few movers, but yeah, I think that's the future of everything almost. And a lot of companies aren't going to learn it. They're just not. They're not. They're going to think it's a phase, just like the internet was a phase in 1998. But I think it's quickly going to replace the internet. It's going to replace operations, sales, and it's going to make you a lot more efficient, a lot more organized, and it's going to be a tool that if you figure out the best practices and how to leverage it, it's going to take you far.
Wade, thank you so much for that answer. Is there, because I'm getting so many people that are asking, can you post this link? Is there a way to find this link while you're not maybe chatting, and you can kind of drop it on there? Because that would be amazing. I think a lot of people want to sign up for this. I'm going to kind of open it up to whoever. It's a free for all on this one, because a lot of us moving company owners, that are not heavily engaged in the ChatGPT world, the Grok, the AI situation, might have a big misconception about it, about the automation, the AI, especially in their operations. What is your takeaway for those like Grant or Tim, that you're running your businesses, or Lauren, Beth, Steve, like all of you guys, of a misconception where you've now introduced AI into operations and it's worked well for you?
Well, I'll speak on that. I'm sure Grant can also echo this. My VAs on the other side of the world, right, know the moving industry just like I do from some projects that I have in memories and ChatGPT. Also, how I learned it is when it first started coming. How I learned it when I first started coming out is I asked it. I remember talking to Wade about that. Everybody was buying, what are these prompts? What are these prompts? And I just said, here's who I am. Here's everything about me. Here's my family. Here's my goals. Here's my business. Teach me how I can utilize you, robot, if you will. And that's how I learned. I jumped in and I didn't do a course or anything like that. I asked it, here's all about me. What can we do together?
Yeah, I think you just have to jump in and just play with it. Like play with the prompts, learn, AI, learn how to use Chat GPT. I've discovered that it's just so much more clear than myself. I mean, I communicate through AI now. Like I'll plug in my notes, I'll do handwritten notes on my Remarkable tablet. I'll take the notes, I'll put it into Chat GPT, because like the morning, that's when I journal. I'll think about like the things that I want to do throughout the day or do the deep work, put it into AI, and then I'll spit it out and then kick it over to my team, to the VAs or my COO or whoever it may be. And it just lays it out so much clearly. It's just such a faster pace, right? You can get everything organized without having to put all the effort into that organization. It's been a game changer. I mean, you can use it for your SOPs. You can use it, like I was playing with a chat bot just the other day, thinking about the follow-up process. Can we automate the follow-up process? Because everybody has a challenge with that sales follow-up process. Can that be automated by a chat bot? I had another AI company I looked at earlier this week where they had the voice AI, and it called me, and I was playing with it. I said, "Are you AI?" It said, "Yes." Kept on going through the process. And I was thinking, follow-ups, can we go ahead and automate the voice call on the follow-ups for stale leads, right? How do you get some automation to clear up the sales team, to free them from all the inundation of all the excess? It's really hard to manage within sales. But looking at these different AI platforms, I mean, the sky's the limit. We're right on the cusp of something amazing. And I think it's just time for all of us to dip our water, or our toes in the water, just to see what AI is really doing, and then find ways to apply it to our moving companies, because you have to integrate it. I mean, it's going to be the wave of the future. We all know that.
Brainstorm.
I'll share just one thing real quick that we're using it for. So we'll take our financials and drop them in there. And since we have multiple branches, I'll take them all and drop them in and have it analyze them. Like, why is this one doing better than this one in these areas? And it'll give me really good analytics to really be able to like zero in on some problems. But like Grant was saying, I think the best place to start, if you haven't gotten into it yet, is start with job descriptions and SOPs. That's like the easiest, like low hanging fruit. You could just jump in and it'll do a great job just right out of the box. I need operations manager, job description, and SOP for a moving company, and it'll spit it out for you, and it'll be pretty close.
Yeah,
And
you're gonna be rough notes too. Just write out your rough notes on what you want and prompt it to tell you to go ahead and, or tell it to go ahead and create the process, the SOP or the job description. And it's just off of those rough notes, couple bullet points, it's going to churn out exactly what you need and probably better than you can do it. It's
Don't
amazing.
think too much about prompts. Just ask it questions. The prompts, people overthink these prompts. Now it makes your answers more and more accurate. You'll learn that later, but just ask it. Guys, you can just hit a button and talk to it conversationally now. So guys that aren't typing, got good at typing, don't have time, I use it in the background. So just to add on to that.
Yeah,
there's a lot
and
of-
voice memos too is another thing. I
Yes.
use voice memos all the time. Like if I'm trying to think about like what I want to convey, I'll talk the idea out into Chat GTP. Can't do it too long. It can't be like 2 or 3 minutes. You have to shorten it. But you can take your voice memo, put it into Chat GTP or Claude, and then it will just go ahead and deliver for you. So I mean that speeds up the process so much. What it would take me an hour before, it takes me like 2 minutes. It's amazing.
One thing I will say about ChatGPT 2, which is a fantastic tool and I love it, I use it, but it's really also only as good as the input you have, right? So there's a I heard this a while ago. There was an attorney that was using it and he was arguing a court case in court, and the court case that he was referencing was completely made up by ChatGPT. So it's also as good as the input, right? I know Tim mentioned the financial analysis. We have dabbled in that too in our own firm, utilizing financial analysis or even tax. Like what does the future look like with AI and tax planning and things like that? And again, it's really only as good as the input going into it. So massively powerful tool, in my opinion, is it's a massively powerful tool, but it's a tool, right? It's not, it's going to replace certain things, but it's not the end all for the short term. In the long term, probably, but for now, at least, needs some review.
So I
And
can
if
still
I can
keep my
add-
job.
if I can add one last thing, since my section was more about marketing and affiliate, I pull data sources from there. So I'll go in there because online directories are public information in some cases. So if I'm looking for certain lists, instead of subscribing to companies like, let's say, Lucia, that would provide lists, I'd go in there and I'd say, can you please give me a list of all of the, let's say, Keller Williams realtors that are located in the Houston and surrounding areas. And instead of me going in and trying to find or pay for sources that can give me that data, you can actually go in and give it commands so it can generate those specific lists for you.
That's awesome. I haven't done that yet. I love that.
Yeah, and then another thing is like, I don't even use Google anymore for directories. I was looking for a sign company for my business. I was getting a actual ground sign, and I looked on Google and I was finding a lot of like the fast signs or those print shops, but I wasn't finding more the commercial. And I said, I'm looking for someone who can do a building sign for me. Can you give me a list of people in my area? And it was just like a directory, gave me maps and locations and phone numbers and emails. Again, as long as it's public and it's out on the web, that's where the AI is pulling its data from to begin with. And so we can extract a lot of what we want as long as we know how to give the commands.
That's great. Oh, this is awesome. Anything else, Lauren? Did you want to add on to this?
I kind of mirror what Brock was saying. Unfortunately, since I'm an attorney, I'm like, you definitely have to look through it. We use it for communications, like quick communications that we want to send to our customers. And then sometimes even responding to reviews and things like that. So just things that are kind of taking like a little bit of human emotion and creating some fun around it for our less creative business owners. So
I've
Yeah, no, I
I've
love that.
One last thought that everybody should do if you hadn't done this before, but you should run some searches for moving companies near you, and also like in the cities that you are, and see how well you rank in chat. Chat loves content, so if you have a lot of content on your website, you're going to come up a lot higher than if you haven't put a lot of content into your website. But if you're not coming up, then you know where you need to start working.
Like that one too. Lauren, I'm going to shoot this right over to you. If a moving company is struggling to hit its revenue goals, Pink Zebra with having multiple locations, what would be the first area of business you would analyze to find opportunities for improvement?
So there are only a couple of areas, right? So if we're struggling to gain business, obviously we're looking at lead quality, like lead gen, and we're looking at your actual sales conversion rate. So those are the two areas that I would go to first. I think sales conversion probably is the easiest one to look at, because if you have a glaring issue there, it's glaring, so your search doesn't have to go much further than the fact that you just have somebody who can't close. If you're seeing like a standard somewhere between 35 and 45% close rate with your sales team, then you're going to start sort of digging deeper. Okay, so why are we closing these leads, but the revenue is not getting any bigger? So we're looking at things like, ticket size, right? You're looking at are what are our customers saying about us that's causing us to get lower level leads? Is there a place that we could be putting our marketing dollars in that can generate us higher quality leads? Because typically that's what you see. You're either going to see a low conversion rate, or you're going to see a lower ticket rate if you're not putting numbers up on the board. So if it's lower tickets, I think everybody kind of knows what those areas are. Like, you're usually getting LSA leads because like you're putting too much money into LSA, your SEO is not doing its job. So you're having to, dig in and see if there's something that you can do to get your organic rankings up. Are people leaving reviews for you? What are those reviews saying? Or am I responding to the reviews? How can I get my ranking to a place where it's just healthier, so that I'm getting the quality on Google that I deserve? And then adversely, outside of the actual technology, what am I doing to get in front of people? I thought Beth's session was great. Getting out and creating relationships is really what this business is all about. And so if you're not doing that, you're not doing that consistently. If you are not meeting with at least one person a day, or talking to at least one referral source a day, you're not doing your business any justice. And so those are probably the key areas that I would look at. And you're going to uncover things that you weren't expecting to see.
Gotcha. Anybody else want to add on to that? Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, I'd say just dialing in that sales process is number one. Really getting in and looking at that conversion rate, because conversion is it's everything. When I realized our conversion rate was so low and I was putting so much money into marketing, it was just like I was shoveling money down a hole, right? So once you get the sales process dialed in, and really the conversion rate's just a matter of how your process is managed, right? Once again, is it clear? Is it clear to your people? Is it clear to your manager? Is it clear to the entire team, on what the expectations are and how those expectations are managed? Because we know, the CMET process, the follow-up process, that speed lead process, like if it's not like really like analyzed on a granular level, there's money on the table, right? So once you get that sales process really dialed in, then it's marketing ROI 100%, and just getting granular and segmenting out the different lead sources. Even going, I think Lewis mentioned it earlier, the Google Ads, segmenting out per county, right? If you have 4 different counties that you're marketing to and your Google ad conversion is low, well, if it's all in one lead source, one referral source, it's just Google Ads, how do you know one of those counties isn't dragging it down, right? Also looking at Google, looking at GBPs. Like I go into a lot of companies' backends and see what they're doing and just consulting with them. And they just have one referral source. It's Google, right? It's not good enough. You need to know, is it Google GBP? Is it Google Ads? Which county is it Google Ads in? Which GBP is it? Is it LSA, local services, or Google Guarantee? You really got to get just very, very dialed in on the specific details of where your marketing's like coming from. Which lead source is it truly? It's that segmentation piece, which takes time. You have to start somewhere. Start small, right? If you have 2 GBPs, get the UTM codes. Smart Moving offers the ability through the lead and conversion analysis to add UTM codes onto these snippets or onto the quote form. So when they fill out the quote form, it can show where that lead specifically came from, right? So that lead attribution is just so important, because then you can just slice away all of the different sources that just aren't working for you. So you can keep on pumping money in, optimizing campaigns, and getting rid of the garbage that just doesn't work for you. But it's those two main things.
And I want to follow up with you, Grant. what is that golden rule? Like, is what you're laying out there, would you say is the golden rule to booking as much as possible?
The golden
Or like,
rule to booking as much as possible. I mean, speed to lead, number one, right? It's just like, how quickly are you getting back to that lead? I think I told a story earlier. Like, I saw my agents, this is about 2-3 years ago. I was deep in the sales process. I was in it. Like, that was my full focus because I saw the marketing dollars being wasted. I was so frustrated with sales. And I think that a lot of people are going through this. I mean, I went through it. That's what forced me to build the systems. Speed to lead is number one. You got to value the leads coming through, right? You have the organic leads. I mean, I remember when I was on the phones, I mean, I wore all the hats. I remember driving down the street and like I load the truck up, hop in the truck. I had 5 missed calls. I'm booking jobs, like one hand on the steering wheel. I'm booking jobs like on the side like, of the seat. And then I get home and then just go ahead and actually book them all in the system, make sure I didn't get disorganized. But it's like you have to make sure that you're getting back to the customers right away, right? It's like, especially the referral, like the organic referral sources, word of mouth, those ones. If you get back to it within 5 minutes, those customers are blown away because you're on top of it. And you know, if there's any time, they're gonna start calling other moving companies. So you got to get to it right away. So that's what I was talking about with my agent report is looking at what is it? When did the agent actually pull the lead? Like we have open buckets, so our 10 agents can pull any lead anytime. But the rule is you have to make sure that you call it within 5 minutes. And then we have our VAs, we have our back end team that's going in and looking in Smart Moving, seeing, hey, the lead was pulled at 12:05, it was called at 12:08. Okay, great, speed lead is working, right? And we check that every single day. That's like how deep we're going on the analytics. But I mean, those components, that plus many other things, literally brought our booking percentage up from about 25 up to north of 50% on a consistent basis, right?
wow.
So it's just making sure we're staying on that process. And we just have teams behind the scenes. You know, we have about 35 VAs right now that are working with an eco member. So we leverage a global workforce just to really get into the specific mechanics because we know how valuable it is to have the data and the analytics to make the appropriate decisions. And we're constantly modifying and tweaking, but speed to lead, long story short.
How can you check that speed to lead on Smart Moving?
Yeah, so you go in and you look at when did the agent actually pull the lead off the board, right? So the bell rang, 5 minutes. Okay, great. They pulled it in 5 minutes. What time did they actually pull it? It shows like on the sales dashboard. You can see when the agent grabbed the lead. We go to Ring Central. We use Ring Central as a phone system. And then we're looking at when was that outbound call made, right? So we compare the outbound call time to when the lead was pulled by the agent. If it's more than 5 minutes, they lose the speed to lead point on our sales process score. We have 7 points, right? So you can score 7. That means you're following the sales process perfect. They hit one, if they don't hit one of those leads at 6 minutes, they lose that point. So I'll see it on that daily report the next day. They got a 6. Okay, well, they missed 1 point. People are going to have issues. There's going to be human error. It is what it is, right? We look for trends in the data. We don't just get down on them, oh, hey, you missed 1 lead. You know, something could happen. But we look at those specific analytics just to make sure that we can really govern what's going on behind the scenes in sales, because there's so many little bits and pieces, as we all know, that can really go off the track if you're not watching them, right? But that's what these processes and structures are for, is looking at everything that go wrong, and then how do you solve that? How do you solve it with a process that can be operated by somebody else? Like I was doing all this stuff myself, and you know, so many leads coming through. It's just frustrating, right? It's just like, I mean, I don't have any hair. It's part of the reason with sales, you know? It's like I'm just pulling it out. But going into it, you can really craft processes for all the specific details, but you got to start one place, right? Where do you start? And then just keep on moving along the chain. Sales process took me like 2 or 3 years to actually build out this process. But now our sales manager, who actually lives in Poland, is running the entire virtual sales team. All of our agents are virtual agents from you know, mainly Central America that are running sales because the process is just so tight.
So if I can just really highlight that, because that's a really great point that you're making, Grant, is going back to Mark's question of like, what are some of the things that you do and you look at, you also want to look at your bottom line and what you're spending on the front end to be able to maximize your ROI. And so, you know, when you really start looking at this, right now, you've mentioned virtual agents a dozen times in this conversation. And so as small business owners, our capital is limited into how we can invest it in order to be able to bring in that team to help support us. So as you're driving to go do an estimate, you don't also have to be giving quotes at the same time. And goes back to picking the right people and putting the right people in the right seats. And so really having a strategy behind your bottom line is just as important with how can you be most efficient with what you're spending and how you're spending it in order to be able to, you can generate it and grab it as much as you can, but if you're not saving it on the other end, what's the point, So really for us, it's become more of a operational efficiency type of focus where we're like, okay, we know we can generate X amount, but how can we improve the bottom line to where we get the most out of what we're generating. And so looking at the bottom line in some cases for, small business owners isn't what we're normally used to. We're just like, how much revenue am I generating? How am I generating all this revenue? And we just spend looking at things like, let's say for us, our repeat customer closing ratio is 80%, whereas lead providers, it's like 10%, and how much are we paying for lead providers and what are we really doing to generate repeat customers? And I know as a new business, you might not be able to do that, but you have the opportunity to start building that. And those repeat customers come as a result of the experience and what they're going through when they are working with you from the beginning to the end. And so going back to the SOPs and how tight you have that and how consistent you have that creates that trust building opportunity for that person to refer friends or family members and become a repeat customer. And really our investment in repeat customers is just really doing good business at the end of the day, doing good business, keeping your promises, not breaking their stuff, showing up on time, and, maybe sending out a couple of MailChimp emails here and there just to nurture them along the way. But at the end of the day, it boils down to how much you're spending to generate those opportunities and what does that bottom line really look like in our case at this point in our, journey.
No, for sure. Now, for many of you that are using virtual assistants, VAs, remote workers, can we kind of go through a list, starting with Grant, like where are you finding these people? These amazing support
We had a
teams that
couple
are
job
building your-
boards we were using before, but we've actually switched over to like just Facebook, right? We've actually gone to different social media. I mean, we have a great hiring team. I mean, our VAs are hiring our VAs. I mean, I found 3 just amazing people that I personally hired. I spent a lot of time going down, looking at agencies and looking at how I can hire VAs and trying to figure out how to craft systems, because I heard another company that, had like 20 or 30 virtual assistants. It blew my mind, right? And it was actually at one of Lewis's events. Somebody was telling me about it. I'm like, I got to do this. I got to figure this out, because the accountability, right? Having the people that are accountable. And the thing with the virtual assistants is you have people you can trust with the processes, and it makes it key. So, really job boards. I mean, there's a couple. There's onlinejobs.ph for Filipino VAs. I know Stephen Reed is doing Ready Rolls, finding VAs for people. You can go and you can do, like I said, Facebook. I mean, you can look in Facebook and find different VA groups. I mean, there's some ways to go about it there, but I mean, it just changes the game. Find great people.
You can chat GPT too, and I'm sure it'll
Right.
give you results.
I'll actually share, because I do
yeah.
have a company that finds VAs, but it's not that easy. A lot of that is you go down this board and know what you're looking for, but make sure when you're doing it yourself, you're looking for signs that this person's not committed to you. And you're educating yourself on ChatGPT or Movified or whatever it is, because you'll get a lot of turnover at the beginning. You get a lot of people that are job hopping. If you go to Upwork, look how many people she's currently working for right now. Right. If you go to Facebook and you start recruiting, or the job boards mentioned, I do this I have a recruiting house in the Philippines, but you gotta look for longevity. You gotta look at how many jobs they're doing, because a lot of people virtually are hopping around and doing, 14 different projects at once. And if they're not, they're looking for the next project on your clock. So there's a good amount that goes into recruiting, but on that side, that you really want to just vet more than you do over here.
Can I tell you how to overcome that? And a lot of people ask, they're like, how can you keep your VAs for so long and have them be part of, and it's, we bring them into the culture and we make them part of being part of the team. They know what's going on. They're not just task doers for us, but they're part of a bigger picture of like growth opportunities for them too. When we meet
Spend
with
every
them.
time, yeah, talk to them every day. Don't just slack them,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
like
Treat
you said,
them like they're part of
every
your
day
team.
have some communication with them, you know, on that side. Like you're saying, Beth, like that's so key.
For
People
sure.
not communicating and just think I'm just going to message this person and they're going to be driven to do all these things for me is wow.
Wade, Tim, who else
let-
who are you guys using?
Yeah, so we've got about 9 VAs. I was going to add to what they're saying is like making them part of your team is huge, especially like for retention and getting them to buy in. Because oftentimes when they work for companies, they're really treated almost like a number, or it's like I hired you to do this job, do the job. If you bring them into the culture and you even ask them like, what do you think?
Yeah,
What do you think
exactly.
about the way we're doing it? Is do you see a better way to do it? Because a lot of the VA, the ones that we work with, most of them are like college educated. And they actually are better with technology than we are. They're better with Excel than we are. So they've wowed us in a lot of ways and created some amazing things for us. But some of the things that we use them for. So our hiring team are all VAs. Our administrative team, is running payroll and doing all of our like sales reporting and stuff for us, getting us all of our KPIs, and then also we have CSRs also in the Philippines. We're primarily in the Philippines right now. But yeah.
And Wade, Lauren, Beth, who are you guys using as well too for V's to find your VAs?
I actually work with Hey Lou. No beef with Steven. Love you, Steven. But Derek's another good guy. Derek Shaw is a moving company owner that has a VA firm that sources them out of the Philippines as well. And we use them. I also work with MoveBees but for overflow, but we have a VA doing overflow before it gets to MoveBees. We have her come onto our daily sales huddles. And what I like about that is because of the time zone difference and how that's set up, we can have after hours and weekends coverage. So our primary in-house sales team is also, out doing estimates, doing networking groups, doing biz dev. So sometimes they're just not always available. So we lean a little bit on MoveBees, but also our Overflow VA, and we can have coverage hours into the evenings and on weekends because honestly, that's the best time to book a move. Most other moving companies in your market are closed and they're not paying attention during those times, or they're short staffed, and people are just trying to get a quote that, they get off work or they have free time on the weekends. They're thinking about it. They're house hunting, whatever. And you usually don't have to deal with, that person who's calling around to 5 different companies. If, you're a good chance the only company that they call that's going to actually answer. So definitely do it for that. Use them to help produce the podcast, use them for bookkeeping services, to basically run KPIs and general bookkeeping. We have a VA with the Titan retreats and Tighten Up training that helps to schedule appointments. There's tons of use cases. I'm actually writing down stuff that you guys are talking about because I want to start, getting more, leveraging them even more than we currently are.
That's great.
I don't think anybody mentioned, but you could just go on Indeed too. So we've hired VAs just from using Indeed.
Lauren,
Indeed,
I'm gonna switch up the pace here. Lauren, this is over to you. We have questions where, I have a small moving company. I'm doing $250,000, $300,000 annually in revenue. What should be my main focus to get me to that $1 million mark?
So just going back to what we've been talking about today, I mean, really just discovering what your processes are and making sure that you have yourself buttoned up to scale. Because, setting your mind on a big goal is exciting, but if you're not getting there in the correct way, it just goes back to what Beth was just saying. Your bottom line is not healthy as you're growing, then what was the purpose of it? And so you have got to make sure that you have defined as much as possible along the way before you really get to the point where you're ready to ramp. going from 250 to $1 million is tough. Okay. It is a lot of hard work. It is sleepless nights. It is grinding. It is getting in front of as many people as possible. It is making sure that you have the most excited team, that you're constantly cultivating your movers, that you are consistently communicating, and that you are like living and breathing that business. Once you get to the point where you are over that $1 million mark, that's when things sort of start, moving a little bit more like clockwork. So you have to be committed to putting in the grind. If you're not 100%, and that doesn't mean, I don't mean just today, like okay, I don't mean just for 3 months while we process this thing out. I mean, until you hit that first goal, you have to be fully committed, because running out of steam is not an option when you're trying to build that business to that first real true milestone. You have to be fully committed, and you have to also, I cannot stress this enough. You have to self-evaluate as much as possible, because there's a ideology. It's called the entrepreneurial roller coaster. When you first open a business and you're at that level where like you're doing around 250, because you can kind of set it and forget it in this industry and hit a $250,000 mark, right? So you're just sort of coasting. You're like, maybe you were a mover before and like you're wanting to venture out on your own. You don't really know what to do, but like you understand the industry, and so you've got some heavy lifting guys that you've brought along with you, and you've got a truck, and you haven't really thought through a whole lot of stuff. Well, it's exciting, right? You're super excited. You're pumped. You're like, I'm doing this for myself. I can't believe like this is my dream. I'm living my dream every single day. And as you sort of start climbing the ladder, you go, whoa, I just did what, $50,000 in business. I never thought I'd do $50,000 in business. Holy moly, this is insane. I can't believe I did this by myself with 3 of my buddies and this, this moving truck. And then you look at your bank account and you go, wait, I like lost $20,000 last month. How did I do $50,000 in business and lose $20,000 last month? It is very
You hire Brock.
It is very easy as you're climbing to lose that excitement, and there's a dip in that roller coaster, right? And so now you're not as optimistic as you were. You're sort of informed. You don't really know where you're going. There's a very critical point in the life cycle of that, and this happens with every business owner. Everyone on this call has been through this. And if you haven't, it's coming. Okay. You hit a rock bottom where you are going to either crash and burn, or you are going to pick yourself up and you're going to say, you know what? I did this for a reason, and I'm moving. I don't care what has to happen. I'm running towards the goal. And that's the pivotal point in your business. You have to be aware enough to recognize it. And you also have to be aware enough to recognize that if I am not the person for this job, like maybe it's bigger than I thought, like maybe it's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be when I first got into it. That happens all the time. Sometimes you set out to start a business and you maybe don't even like that business now. Like you were doing it as a job. You didn't realize how hard it was. Maybe your management staff never talked to you and you had no idea what was really coming for you. Be aware enough to recognize that moment and replace yourself before it's too late. It's one of the most important things that you can ever do. Some people still have the drive. They still want to keep going. They're going to go hard. They don't care, but that's not the life for everybody. So just make sure that you're recognizing that along the way when people are pointing things out about you. Be humble enough to receive that. And sometimes you can't worry about the money. I can give you a real life story. Just happened to somebody where it was just that, like when you are just the business, franchise owners are often just they're the owner operator, right? And so maybe we're coming from like a corporate finance job, and now I just wanted to, be my own. I want to be my own boss. Caring so much about your business, so much that you can't sleep at night and it's all you think about, is great. But if you can't recognize that like you're a little bit of the issue, like you're hindering the growth of your business because you're trying to do everything. You're not delegating, you're not letting people take over. You're too close to it. You don't really trust that anybody can do it as well as you. It will fail. It will fail. And so recognize that moment, know that you sometimes have to fill the gaps, and you've got to trust people along the way. And yeah, I mean, and take time to breathe, take time to like focus on yourself, and make sure that you're moving when you're constantly evaluating, so that as you're moving up, you're not just losing money along the way.
Well,
Well,
and
and yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Mark. And an EOS, that is referred to as letting go of the vine. You know, as business owners, we're holding on to this vine because we have always had to do everything. And to be able to let go of that vine is very scary in some cases, because you're depending and trusting others. But that trust also comes with, you know, accountability and setting the right processes and structures up for people to follow, to be in line with what your expectations are. But when you have the ability to let go of the vine, you have the ability to be able to elevate yourself by delegating. And if the viewers or the listeners can take that one piece of advice from, you know, Grant and Stephen, and even Lauren, it's, you know, you're taking the tools and the resources that you have around you, whether it's AI, whether it's automation, whether it is virtual agents, whether it is your team members, to say, how can I delegate certain things to certain places to where it can free up my time so I can move the needle and make sure that I impact the bottom line. And to really, like Lauren said, be able to self-assess that and remove yourself from a micro aspect of the business and look at yourself from a macro aspect, kind of like you're a drone and you're just looking down at yourself every day and what you're doing, and seeing like, what is the best way that I can pull myself out of this so I can find more time, allows you to be able to really achieve what Lauren's saying.
Well, yeah, for sure. Now, when you guys are growing this revenue, you are building up your company. At what level would you recommend hiring that operations manager and another dispatcher, especially if you only have one location?
I can go ahead and say what we would do. So typically we would send first of off, we would just send an operations manager to a new location. And then, you know, movies would be handling all the sales and that type of stuff for them. But there's a couple different directions that it can go, and there's not really a right or wrong answer. It really depends on the person who's running the location. Probably when you get to around, you know, $300,000 to $500,000 mark, if you're doing that kind of volume, now we're looking at either an office manager, right? So your ops guy, if he's doing on-sites and he's doing all the things, so he's freed up, right? He can come and go, or you're going to hire a salesperson. So if your ops guy really wants to stay back and really like be in the office, hold it down, he's a little bit administrative, but maybe not quite as salesy. So yeah, I think either choice is good. And just depending on who we have there. And that's kind of how we look at it.
Nice. I like that. Thank you. Brock, you just look so lonely. We got to ask you a question.
Please.
You're like patiently waiting, just twiddling. You're like, I'm on like 20 cups of coffee right now. Like I'm just
still
itching for a
shaking.
question.
Yeah, I'm coming down from it.
What's one mistake that you see even like the most experienced moving company owners still making?
Yeah. The something that I've said a lot, especially the past, I'd say 12 months at least. The biggest cost in your company is the cost of potential. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you decide, hey, I'm going all in on storage, great. Like, there's a lot of people make a lot of money in storage. But if you have $2,000 in monthly storage revenue and you're signing a $15,000 lease, right? You have substantial potential to make a ton of money on storage, right? 20,000 a month, not a problem. Net and 5, let's say, whatever. But right now, your cost of potential is just sucking you dry. And so that's kind of where generally I go back to the overhead efficiency ratios, which is, if you have something that has a lot more potential than what you're currently using it for, that's what's killing your company. Anytime I see a company, I see a lot of companies that are doing slightly over $1 million that get into that phase where they realize, you know, they're taking the next step. They're buying trucks. They're bringing on new team members. They're doing all these new things, and they don't realize that these, like you bring in an office manager and he has the potential to manage the office up to $2 million in revenue. While you're doing $1 million, you're still paying him the same amount. There's just so much more potential that you're just not utilizing, right? So universally, that's what I've been saying is, you know, again, the biggest cost in any moving company is potential. And you want to have that potential or else you can't grow, but it's the line of enough potential to grow, but not too much to be gluttonous.
I like it. Thank you, Brock.
For sure.
We're going to pass it. I want to get each one of you an answer. Only give me one, please. What is your number one best lead source that you are currently using? You can duplicate it, because then everybody's going to go, man, we have to do this because everybody on this panel is doing it. But Beth, start with you. What's your one number best lead source?
Repeat customers.
Okay. Steven?
Oh, I guess to answer number one, I'd say repeat customers, but number two, I'm going to go with Google. That's our biggest lead source on number two, then followed by a few others.
Okay. Lauren?
Realtors. So repeats.
Okay. Brock?
I mean, I got to go with repeat, but I would say a lot of times whenever somebody's starting a new location, they don't have repeat and referral. Universally, I plug USA Home Listings or some sort of direct mail, right? Because that is one-to-one. You're paying for the mail, you're getting a lead, right? Whereas like SEO is a little longer term. So starting a new company anyway, or a new location, I'd say direct mail.
Grant?
So definitely repeat business, all about the customer experience, and then Google Ads are key, but also Google Business Profile. So I know I gave you three, but I mean, work all of those.
Joking.
Manage
You only
them-
had one. You
yeah,
only
manage
had
them
one.
differently, I think, is what Grant's saying on that. Google, I said Google, but there's different sources of Google to definitely key in on.
You got to segment them out.
Tim?
Yeah, so after repeat and referral, like our highest like paid advertising return would be on mailers, USA Home Listings. It's about
Wade?
30% of the business from one source.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, affiliate and referral programs, I think, you know, that's our number one. And, you know, I know you guys are talking about that, but there's a lot of different ways to leverage that. You know, at realtors, somebody said, you know, leave your branded boxes inside the brokerage offices that they can take to their listing appointments to help them close the deal. Just doing biz dev outreach. There's so many different ways. I mean, we could talk for an hour on just like different biz dev outreach strategies, but we use Snowball to push, you know, a drip campaign out to past customers, realtors, referral programs. You know, finding ways to create value for other people, whether it's giving them exposure to help them grow their business, or sending them business, or tools and tricks to help them win more business. Ultimately, if you help other people win and grow their businesses, then they're going to be more than likely to reciprocate that favor. But it also depends where you're at. You know, if you're just starting out in a new location, run LSA, you know, before you have SEO, before you have a huge past customer list and a huge database. I mean, the LSA is going to get you ranking on maps as soon as you start, as soon as you turn it on. And, you know, it's sometimes not always the highest ROI for stuff like that, but it will get your trucks moving, and then you can start to generate those lists that you can basically do the move multiplier Lewis talks about.
Yeah, I love it. And shout out to Snowball. Those guys are fantastic to help with that referral source. USA Home Listings, movingletters.ai. I mean, these guys are fantastic. Those are some of your strong lead sources for sure. Again, I want to keep going back to each one of you. What's one habit or a daily practice that has made the biggest impact on your success? We will start over with Tim, because I know we've shared this conversation before. So, Tim, what is that one habit, one daily practice that has made such a massive impact on your success?
Yeah, just having a good morning routine. So for me, it's quiet time, reading, and then hit the gym.
Nice. I like that. Wade?
So I actually programmed my entire bedroom on Alexa, and it slowly turns my lights on a red hue starting about 4 a.m. and the radio comes on, starts to play music, and it helps me get out of bed early. And basically hammer the morning routine, like Tim said.
I like it, Grant.
Meditation's been huge. I'm on day like 63 on meditation, right? So I've been really crafting the morning experience. And then I do a lot of yoga. I'm 33 days straight right now at this point. So those two have just been amazing. Start the day off fresh, get my mind centered, and then just go in for what's most important now and try to evaluate that every day.
Get that the crane movement. I'm joking. For the
I
yoga.
demonstrate, but I don't know if it's
I know.
appropriate for today.
No, we'll do it after the after hours special. Brock, what about you?
So something that changed my life. I used to be a massive to-do list guy and just love checking things off. But now everything I have is immediately time blocked. If I have a meeting with somebody, I instantly go to my calendar, block the time off, and then I know I'm going to do it. Nothing gets in its way, right? Time blocking has been massively huge. And for the things that you kind of forget that you got to, that you feel like you need to be putting time into, content and things like that, blocking it off 100%.
Time blocking has been so beneficial to my life as well too. And it's also, as everybody that's listening to each one of the speakers, you do what works right for you. There's many of us that go, oh, I meditate in the morning. Maybe meditating in the evening is even better for you. Oh, I go work out in the morning. Maybe that energy needs to be more focused on the creative side and go work out in the afternoon. So do what works best for you, but try and find that daily practice and habit. Consistency is key. Lauren, over to you. That was just my 2 cents.
My answer is so different.
I love it.
It's literally never say no. I never say no to anything because I want the opportunity to learn about something new every single day. If I haven't solved a problem today, I'm having a bad one. And then wine.
You
You
say
gotta-
wine?
And then wine. You got to detox at the end of the day. If you're always grinding and you're never saying no, you have to sort of woo-saw at the end of the day.
Well, that's awesome. What about you, Beth?
So part of mine is like Brock's with time blocking, especially when you are a business owner that you're running all aspects of your business. It was really, for me in the EOS model, it starts with the visionary, goes to the integrator, and then kind of works down in your accountability chart. And as an integrator and a visionary in my business currently, time blocking is critical. So, Mondays I have designated for logistics focus. Tuesdays I have accounting focus. Wednesdays I have operations. Thursdays I have leadership, and so allowing yourself to compartmentalize your day, because you are going to be so inundated with so many different things that you're going to have to juggle, allows you to be able to really be set up for success. And then I want to say, as an extension to that, goal setting is really, really important. Even down to, where do you want to be in 3 years as a business, even down to revenue. And so what do you want your revenue in 3 years to look like? And then really writing down how you're going to get yourself there. How many crews does that look like? How many people in your office does that look like? How many trucks do you need? And what do you have to spend or do to be able to get yourself there? And so now you've set this like long reaching goal. But then for me on a daily basis, it becomes, well, now I've broken it down to an annual goal. So I know first year I'm going to have to do this. Second year, I'm going to have to do this to be able to get to where I want to get to by the third year. And then you break it down just a little bit further to where you're like, now this quarter, I need to do this. And, how do I put the focus on that quarter? Well, what am I doing this month? And what am I doing next month? And then it breaks down to, what am I doing on a weekly basis to get myself to that big goal? So setting yourselves up for big goals on where you see your dreams, where you see your vision, where you want to get yourself to, but then breaking it down into smallest sections, whether it's, breaking it down on an annual, quarterly, and then monthly, allows you to be able to set up your weeks and your days and even time block it a little bit more efficiently, because now you have a roadmap of where you want to go versus just going every day. And if you're just going every day, then where are you wanting to go to and how are you going to get yourself there? So I would encourage goal setting.
For sure. Manifest that stuff.
For sure.
Steven, what about you?
I had to turn the microphone off because I get so excited when everybody's saying, I'm like, yes, yes, in the background, if you see me fidgeting. A little different. I'm routine. I'm ADHD, as I just said, super ADHD. So the morning routine's everything to me. Like y'all mentioned, routine is everything. So I'm in the same routine almost every single day, as we all kind of went through there. But my big impact, what kind of changed my life, is we live controlled chaos. We're trying to control chaos every day. And my big time is 6 o'clock. Before I go in and deal with my family and talk to my family, enjoy that time, I have to stop. And I have to say, hey, what got out of my routine today? Can I delegate that? Is there an opportunity space to make somebody better with a time block ahead? And that's my big thing is before I go in, sometimes it happens, I drive and I'm in the garage and I'm like, hold on, kids. Let me stop and just look at my calendar and reflect. But that's my big thing that changed my life is looking at what got off the rails.
Steven,
love it.
speaking of getting delegated, I got delegated to close. All right.
No, see, this is James. I want everybody that's right now in the chat, give me a 1 if you want still one more question, because I still have one more question. Come on, James. Everybody just look at this. It's being lit up. I have one final question, but I'm going to tell all the speakers, keep it to like about 30 seconds here because we're going to, yeah, see, look at that. Boom.
And don't
I'm
leave because I
taking
got a
over.
special offer after everyone's
That's
done. I got a
right.
special
Don't leave
offer.
yet. Don't
Don't
leave yet.
leave yet. I got a surprise for you.
Last question for each of you. We'll start off with Wade. Is what is that one piece of advice you wish you had when you first started into the moving industry?
Yeah, so seek mentorship. Find people that are doing what you want to do. It could be in another market. You know, a lot of times competitors may not want to tell you all their secrets, but I mean, what you guys are doing right now, you know, getting mentorship from people who have been in the business for a long time and have had success in it. You know, when I started the first 5 or so years, I hardly knew anybody in this industry. And it wasn't until I met people like Tim and Steven and a lot of other people that are on this call is where, you know, I got to learn what those KPIs were. I got to learn what those marketing strategies were. I realized that they were in the same boat that I was at one point in time and they pulled themselves out. So that's, I think the number one shortcut to success is to find people who have actually done it and ask them questions and build that relationship and create value for them so that they're willing to give you their time.
I love it. Tim?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me, like when I look back when I built my business was really, so I took originally Krupp Moving and Storage, I went to 1 million and it was just me and the movers. And it was really crazy. And then after I hired an ops manager and freed myself up, like my company exploded. So I found that like I was holding myself back by not hiring people to and starting to delegate things. So I was probably a little bit slower to do that. Now I'm really fast to do that, but for me that would be the thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's probably like for all of us. Grant, what about you?
I say don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's your best opportunity to learn and grow. I mean, my entire organization is built on countless mistakes. I tell my staff on a consistent basis, like I'm going to fail publicly. If I'm not failing, I'm not trying hard enough. So get outside of your comfort zone, walk through the fear door, and go challenge yourself to get to the levels that you want. Like Beth said, set goals, right? But goals, they're stretches, right? It's like you're not there yet. You want to get there. You have to go through trial and error and just constantly adapt with the mistakes that you make. I mean, that's the best way to learn.
Nice. Brock?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of I wish I would have read the book Extreme Ownership a lot earlier. You know, we're all managers in our company, right? Like we migrated from a lot of the foot traffic to being managers now, right? And the book Extreme Ownership really showed me that like if you go into the mindset of everything that's happening in the business is your fault, both positive and negative, right? It allows you to kind of look at things from a managerial perspective and put processes in place and systems in place that allow everyone under you to thrive. And kind of like going on what Tim said, then when you start delegating these things, you get the benefit of seeing people succeed and also knowing that you're kind of the one that set this in motion because you took on ownership of all these different systems. So early on, I would say read the book Extreme Ownership and truly understand what that means, because eventually, again, you're starting this company, even if it's in the moving industry, you love moving, let's say, eventually you're going to be a manager. And so to take on that leadership, it's important to understand what actually that means and how to be successful in it.
And here I thought you were going to say more V-neck sweaters. So off. I was
hey,
so
it's
off.
It's got a little, collar.
Lauren, what about you?
Don't be a perfectionist. You know, this is not a business for people who are expecting nothing to ever go wrong. Be okay with it and understand how you're going to fix problems instead of trying to prevent them, because there's nothing you can do to prevent what's coming, but you're going to need to know how you're going to react to it.
I like that. Beth?
I would say the number one thing would be to create your company's mission, vision, and core values and know why you're doing this every single day, and let your team know why they're doing this and why you're doing this every day. I'm going to get a little vulnerable, and I understand we're short on time, but one quick thing is I went on this journey of my business for 20 plus years with a former partner of mine who was also my husband. And I didn't understand why for the first 20 years it was so difficult to run the business, why I couldn't get SOPs in place, why I couldn't build consistency in my daily practices, why there was so much turnover in my business, why the culture wasn't the way I wanted it to be. And when I identified 6 years after my competitor asked me what my core values were, and were able to see what the vision and the mission for why I'm doing everything every day was, it gave me clear purpose and said, this is why I'm doing this, and this is how I'm going to lead the way. Before then, for 18 years, I didn't know that way. And I didn't know why there were those challenges or those struggles from my former partner, who is now my ex-husband, which was a tough decision that you have to make in these types of, cases. But identifying that aligns you with the right people from the very, very beginning, and minimizes a lot of the conflict, a lot of the distractions, a lot of the disruptions, and allows you to be able to just gain momentum a little bit easier.
That's great. I love that. Now, Steven, finish us off.
I'm coming off. Am I closing this day down a little bit with this?
No, James is, but
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm the pre-closeout. Okay. So I got to set a bar a little high. Beth just set it high. I got
I know.
to go up here. But if I go back, I started looking at things about, I don't know, 5 years ago. I started with my buddies, hired a lot of friends, kept a lot of friends, paid a lot for those friends, kept people for their problems, even though it was affecting my company. So when I started looking at it as I look at business as you've heard a lot, Mark, Wade, you've heard, Tim, you've heard, it's a journey, it's a boat ride, right? And I took the personal a lot out of my business because people don't see your business as personal as you do, right? Nobody's going to see it that way. And I took the personal out of it. And those people that would leave are the people that I would ask to get off my boat ride. I didn't stop looking at them like they were bad people. Right. I asked them, go off, learn something. And maybe you know where I'm going on this boat ride. Maybe you can come back down the road and take what you've learned and come back and know exactly where I'm going and help out. And I wish I had that in my first few years. I held on to a lot of people that I should have just said, get off the dang boat. Right. And that cost me a lot of drama, a lot of stopping of growing to talk about the personal and all of it. And so when I look back, I guess I'm about to celebrate 17 years. I say, man, I would have been quicker to ask people to get off my boat and go learn something. Maybe you can come back instead of taking it so personal and paying a lot for a lot of people on my boat. So that's one thing I wish I could go back and tell my younger with a lot more hair. Where's Michael Levac?
Yeah.
A younger person with a lot more hair. I would tell him, hey, don't take everything so personal.
I love it. I love it. Thank you guys all so much for taking this hour and a little bit. I went a couple minutes over. Sorry, James, for this panel. I think it was very fantastic for everybody that is in this webinar. Do we get like a give us a hands, give us a one, let us all know if everybody did a fantastic job. A lot of people go like this. There you go.
So I have a
Thank
deal
you.
to make with you guys.
All right, let's
Who
hear it.
here wants the recording of all the sessions today? If you do, put a 5 in the chat right now. And you just got baited, because here's how you're going to get them. See, now I know there's demand. I got demand, so I got all the leverage right now. We are going to send you a survey right after we hit end here. We're going to send a survey. And we're going to need a certain number of surveys to get back before we release recordings. So We give, we take away, we can give, but we need you guys to take a minute and give and be raw, please. We don't need attaboys and attagirls. You know, we want to hear what you liked, what you didn't like. And yeah, they're going to rank all the speakers. Sorry, speakers, you're going to get ranked, right? Because our time is of great value. Okay. And I know some of us missed some of the recordings and they want to hear them today. But I'd love for everybody to take it takes a minute. You're going to get the survey. Just fill it out for us, please. And thank you for doing that. Next, we're going to close it out here. But Mark, before we do, come on, man, you're a business owner. Like, can you give us your one thing? And then, you know, I might do the same as well. Like, you give us one thing. We went around the panel and you've done a great job hosting today. What's your one thing and one takeaway? We would like to hear from you now, Mark. Take the microphone.
Oh boy. My if I could have started again, if I could look back.
Yes.
I think it's about having that circle. You know, a lot of us had our circle of, you know, college friends, high school friends, the people we turned to. They weren't in the moving industry. And I found at an early stage that I had nobody to turn to. And I just kept hitting this roof over and over again. And it got me extremely frustrated until the Louis Massaro events, until the Moving Titan events. I mean, everybody on this panel that I get an opportunity to speak with and hang out with, that is like gold to me. And why reinvent the wheel when I have so many people to turn to and learn from? I mean, this is it. I mean, you know, and for all of us that have been in business for 15, 20 years, boy, we're such a good looking group. You know, I mean, we're still alive, which is great. And we're very successful. So yeah, that would be mine. More like, just like what Wade was saying, is really about organizing my time and having that mentorship in that group circle.
Yeah. And for me, it is the customer has the answer to the test. Okay. I've founded painting companies, power washing companies, nonprofits. I took one company from an incubator and now it's a multi-billion-dollar company today. Guys I hired 20 years ago are still there. We bought this company 4 years ago. I started reinventing the 911 phone call and we came across a guy on this panel named Wade. Okay. We cold called Wade. We picked up the phone and we made a cold call. Wade didn't know who we are. But Wade saw us for who we were. He's like, you have no idea what you guys are sitting on. You're sitting on some liquid gold. And he was right. Because you know what? I couldn't get Louis Massaro to return my call. I cold called him many times. And today I was on stage with him. I had never met Louis until today. All right. And this was just a dream to do virtual conferences over a year ago. I just like, we should bring value. And value was brought today. And this community of movers, I'm in a lot of industries. This does not happen. To have everybody joining today, everyone here on the panel is just giving their time, giving effort. There's a community within the moving industry that is special, that's happening right here. And not everybody knows that because you've been in the bubble of moving for a little while, but you are not normal, right? None of us are, right? But you're not normal. This industry is not normal. To have people like this come and give their time, their knowledge, their wisdom right here, and they didn't get paid $1 for this, guys. They came here just to give back to the industry. So big thank you to everyone on this panel, to all the speakers today. And, you know, go get it. Listen to the customer. Wade, you were right. You know, I listened to you and here we are and we're here because of you, man. So thank you for seeing us when we were nothing. We were a flea on a dog, but I really appreciate you. And Mark, why don't you close us out today and we'll call it a day. Finish us up, Mark. Last word from you, my man.
Oh, guys, listen, we appreciate everyone for joining us this year. We hope you walk away with some valuable insights, some golden nuggets, actionable steps to drive profitability for the rest of 2025. Don't just take today and you've written down a bunch of notes and then tomorrow you're off to the next thing. Go back, get back to your team that's all been a part of this and sit down and make that implementation. That's the only way you're going to grow. And thank you. That's it. James, was that good enough?
Speed of implementation. I love it.
Way to close. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Take the survey. Take the survey.
Take the survey. Make sure you fill out that survey. Thanks, guys.
ReadyRolls.com.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.